Two questions. Do you like the spray of tracks for the current playoff system? And two, if there's something that Alex Bowman could change, not necessarily in his favor, but change for the playoffs to make it more fair.
Alex Bowman, the driver who's made the playoffs 7 out of 8 years, just told everyone the whole system is broken. And then he turned around and defended his biggest rival. That's got the entire NASCAR world scratching their heads. The Hendrick Motorsports driver dropped some truth bombs recently that nobody saw coming. Here's a guy who drives the legendary number 48 Chevrolet, consistently makes the playoffs, and has every reason to love the current system. But instead of playing it safe, Bowman went on the SpeedFreaks podcast and said something that shocked the NASCAR world. "I would just like 36 races and call it good," Bowman stated flatly. He wants NASCAR to ditch the entire playoff format and go back to the old-school system where whoever has the most points after 36 races wins the championship. No eliminations, no must-win situations, just pure season-long consistency. Think about that for a second. This is coming from someone who's literally built his career success around the current playoff system. At 32 years old, Bowman has made the playoffs in 7 of the last 8 seasons. His best championship finish was 6th place back in 2020. You'd think he'd be all in on keeping things exactly as they are. But Bowman isn't just any driver making noise for attention. He's been around long enough to see both sides of this debate, and he's not afraid to speak his mind even when it goes against his own interests. The really shocking part, Bowman knows his opinion doesn't matter. When asked if NASCAR would ever change back to the old format, he didn't hesitate with his answer.
No, definitely not. 0% chance on that one. I don't think so, at least. I think the playoffs are important in creating excitement.
He went even deeper, explaining something most drivers won't admit out loud.
But at the end of the day, we're entertainers and we're creating entertainment, and our job is to entertain the fans. I think the playoffs create a lot of excitement.
That's brutal honesty right there. Bowman basically admitted that NASCAR prioritizes entertainment over pure competition, and he's okay with that reality even though he disagrees with it personally. But here's where it gets really interesting. Bowman knows he's fighting a losing battle, and he's humble enough to admit it.
Even more so, I'm a dumb race car driver. People way smarter than me decide what the championship format should be, so...
Now, you might be wondering why this matters so much right now. Well, Bowman's playoff situation this year perfectly illustrates his point about the current system's problems. Going into the second playoff race at Gateway, Bowman was in serious trouble. He sat 15th out of 16 playoff drivers, sitting 19 points below the cutoff line to advance to the round of 12. This put him in a nearly must-win situation, and that pressure showed on the track. At Gateway, everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Bowman. He started 25th and immediately ran into pit road problems. Multiple botched pit stops, including a speeding penalty that killed his chances completely, dropped him to a 26th place finish. That left him 35 points below the cutoff line heading into Bristol. After the race, a frustrated Bowman told reporters,
"I don't want to call anybody out. It just kind of is what it is. So just got to keep working. Can't have those mistakes this time of the year, and honestly, just haven't been executing very well."
The execution problem started the week before at Darlington, where Bowman suffered through a disastrous 40-second pit stop just 70 laps into the race. While his Hendrick teammates like Chase Elliott bounced back at Gateway, with a third-place finish, Bowman's struggles continued. It's the perfect example of how the playoff format can make or break a season in just a few bad moments, regardless of how well you performed over the first 26 races. But here's where Bowman really shocked everyone. In the middle of dealing with his own playoff troubles, he took time to defend one of his biggest rivals, Joey Logano. Now, Bowman and Logano have history. They've traded paint, exchanged heated words, and battled hard for position countless times over the years. These two are not friends, which makes what happened next so surprising. During his appearance on SpeedFreaks, Bowman directly addressed the criticism that follows Logano and several other recent NASCAR champions. Critics love to call these championships illegitimate because the drivers didn't dominate the entire season. Logano won the 2024 championship despite having a relatively quiet regular season. He only made the playoff field because of a 5-overtime victory at Nashville Superspeedway, then got hot at exactly the right time during the playoffs. Some fans and media members have called this championship illegitimate because Logano wasn't the most consistent driver all year long. Bowman wasn't having any of that criticism.
I think I've seen the people that are trying to say that like Joey's taking advantage of it, right? Because he struggled throughout the year last year, got one win, and then kicked all our ass in the playoffs.
Right.
That doesn't make him an illegitimate champion.
This defense coming from Bowman carries serious weight. When a driver defends someone he's had run-ins with purely based on principle, that means something. Bowman could have easily stayed quiet or even piled on the criticism. Instead, he chose to give credit where credit was due. The timing of these comments couldn't be more relevant. NASCAR's championship format has been under intense scrutiny lately, with several high-profile voices calling for change. Denny Hamlin, the 2024 Daytona 500 winner, recently made waves by declaring the fan base is over it when discussing the current playoff system. He pointed out how unfair it would be if someone like Cody Ware, who sits 36th in points with no top 5 finishes, could eliminate consistent performers like Tyler Reddick or Alex Bowman from playoff contention with a single superspeedway win. Mark Martin, the NASCAR Hall of Famer, has been even more vocal. Reports suggest he's been screaming for NASCAR to return to a full season points format during meetings of the sports playoff committee. Fan polls conducted by reporters like Jeff Gluck consistently show that the majority of NASCAR fans want to return to the 36-race championship format. The criticism isn't just coming from drivers and fans. The numbers tell their own story about the current system's flaws. Joey Logano's 2024 championship came with an average finish of 17.1, the worst average finish of any champion in Cup Series history. Austin Dillon made the 2024 playoffs despite sitting 25th in points with just 5 top 10 finishes and no top 5s all season. Meanwhile, consistent performers like Tyler Reddick, who finished second in the Daytona 500 and sits 7th in points with 5 top 5s and 9 top 10s, face the possibility of missing the playoffs entirely if another first-time winner emerged. This creates exactly the kind of situation Bowman was talking about when he said he prefers the old format. Under the pre-playoff system, consistency over 36 races mattered most. Now, one hot streak or one lucky win can override months of steady performance. Chase Briscoe's playoff strategy perfectly illustrates how the current format changes racing itself. After winning the playoff opener at Darlington, Briscoe openly admitted his approach for the remaining round of 16 races would be different. If there is a situation that arises throughout the race, say a caution comes out with 5 to go before a stage, all of those guys are going to have to stay out and get the points. Where obviously, if we were leading, we would probably stay out to get the playoff point, but if not, it allows us to be really aggressive on strategy. In other words, winning early in the playoffs lets you race more conservatively, while drivers still fighting for advancement have to take bigger risks. This fundamentally changes the competition itself. What makes Bowman's comments so powerful is his willingness to speak honestly despite the potential consequences. He's currently fighting for his playoff life, needing strong performances to advance. The last thing most drivers would do in his situation is criticize the very system they're trying to succeed in. But Bowman chose honesty over politics. He admitted the playoff format creates entertainment value while simultaneously arguing it doesn't crown the best champion. He defended a rival's achievements while maintaining his preference for a different system entirely.
Denny Hamlin on the pole position alongside Kyle Larson. Race 2 of the playoffs. Let's go!
Denny Hamlin just won his 5th race of 2025 at Worldwide Technology Raceway, but what he said after crossing the finish line has everyone talking. For the first time ever, the 44-year-old driver revealed exactly when he plans to hang up his helmet. And the clock is ticking faster than anyone thought. When reporters asked Hamlin how he stays so focused at his age, his answer caught everyone off guard.
I knew exactly how many races were left, and it's like, the countdown has begun.
This wasn't some vague comment about retiring someday. Hamlin was dead serious about having an exact number. He went on to explain that he'll turn 45 the week after this season ends, and that leaves him just 2 more seasons after 2025. Do the math, and you're looking at roughly 70 races left in one of NASCAR's most successful careers. Hamlin even talked about a recent conversation with Kevin Harvick, saying, "I knew exactly how many races were left." But here's the kicker. Hamlin isn't planning to fade away quietly. He made it crystal clear that pride won't let him stick around past his prime.
There's just got to be a means to an end. I'm just not going to leave this sport on my deathbed. Just leaking oil, just running in the back of the pack. Like I have way too much pride for that. I'm way too cocky for that. There's just no way. I want to be able to win my last race.
This timeline means Hamlin has exactly 2 more shots at the Daytona 500, 2 more chances to finally win his first Brickyard 400, and most importantly, a rapidly closing window to capture that elusive first championship. When asked if winning the title would make him consider walking away on top, Hamlin didn't hesitate.
Sure, absolutely. Sounds like a good way to end.
Sunday's victory at Gateway wasn't just another win. It marked Toyota's 200th NASCAR Cup Series victory, with Hamlin claiming 56 of those wins. That ties him with Kyle Busch for the most Toyota victories ever. At 59 career wins, he's also just 1 away from tying Kevin Harvick at 60 wins. Tyler Gibbs from Toyota Racing Development put the milestone in perspective, saying it represents 19 years of partnership success across teams like Joe Gibbs Racing, 2311, and others. For Hamlin, who switched from Chevrolet to Toyota early in his career, the relationship runs deep.
Relationship with them. And so, I've got Toyota running through my blood, both top and bottom.
He said, referencing both his driving career and his ownership of 2311 racing with Michael Jordan. While Hamlin was celebrating and making retirement announcements, Shane Van Gisbergen was fighting for his NASCAR playoff life, and honestly, it wasn't going well. The New Zealand driver started 18th at Gateway, just 0.4 of a second behind Hamlin's pole-winning time. That looked promising, but things went downhill fast. Van Gisbergen climbed to 17th on the opening lap. But his car developed serious handling problems that never got fixed.
Oh, we're wrecking! It's Shane Van Gisbergen and the WeatherTech Chevrolet.
Caution, get it rolling here if you can. Barely touch the left rear on the wall. Should be fine. Get it turned right here, all good.
Over the radio, Van Gisbergen didn't hold back his frustration. "I feel useless," he told his crew after struggling with a car he described as very loose. The problems were consistent throughout the race. He'd show speed on restarts, but lose everything once the field spread out. "I'm good on a restart, but once it strings out, I've got nothing," he explained to his team. The first stage gave Van Gisbergen some hope. His crew gained him track position during a caution, and he briefly climbed as high as 9th place before dropping back to finish the stage in 12th. But stage 2 was worse, with Van Gisbergen falling all the way back to 19th and missing out on stage points again. Then came the moment that really hurt his playoff chances. With 85 laps to go, Van Gisbergen spun in turn 3, bringing out a caution. While he avoided damage, the incident cost him valuable track position. His team tried to get creative with strategy, calling for a 2-tire stop that briefly moved him toward the front. But any chance of capitalizing disappeared when officials penalized him for speeding on pit road. That speeding penalty forced a drive-through that dropped Van Gisbergen deep in the field with no time to recover. He ended up finishing 25th, sandwiched between Ross Chastain and Alex Bowman. It was a disappointing result that pushed him 15 points below the playoff cut line heading into Bristol. After the race, Van Gisbergen was honest about where his team stands. He said, "We were probably a 15th place car, but then detuned it a little bit and ended up where we did." He acknowledged that finishing 20th or 15th represents huge improvement for his program, but added, "Obviously in the playoffs you expect more. There's that pressure there." The playoff picture after Gateway shows just how much trouble Van Gisbergen is in. With one race left in the first round, only Hamlin and Chase Briscoe have locked in their spots with wins. Kyle Larson sits 60 points above the cut line and can actually clinch his spot just by starting the race at Bristol. Above the cut line, you've got Bubba Wallace at plus 50, Ryan Blaney at plus 42, despite getting spun by Larson during the race. Austin Dillon sits 11 points back, followed by Van Gisbergen at minus 15, Alex Bowman at minus 35 after another rough day, and Josh Berry at minus 45, following his second straight last-place finish. For Van Gisbergen, Bristol represents a last-chance opportunity. The Base Pro Shop's night race has been tough for international drivers to figure out, and Van Gisbergen's limited experience at the half-mile track doesn't help his chances. He needs either a miracle finish or for several drivers ahead of him to have problems. Meanwhile, Hamlin left Gateway in vintage form, embracing his role as NASCAR's biggest villain. After taking the checkered flag, he did a long burnout down the front stretch while the crowd booed loudly. His response was perfect. It's remarkable what Hamlin is juggling right now. He's co-hosting a podcast, running a 3-car race team with Michael Jordan, raising 3 kids including one born just 3 months ago, and still performing at an elite level in his 20th Cup Series season. Team owner Joe Gibbs marvels at Hamlin's ability to handle everything, joking he's in one meeting after another. The more stuff he does, the better off he is. The contrast between Hamlin and Van Gisbergen couldn't be sharper right now. Hamlin is racing stress-free after locking in his playoff spot, while Van Gisbergen faces potential elimination from his first NASCAR playoff appearance. Hamlin has a clear timeline for his career and specific goals he wants to achieve. Van Gisbergen is still learning how to set up cars for oval racing and finding speed when it matters most. Bristol Motor Speedway will be the site where these two very different stories continue. The stakes couldn't be higher for the 4 drivers currently on the outside looking in. Josh Berry is 45 points back and basically needs a win to advance. Alex Bowman has struggled with speed and pit road mistakes for 2 straight weeks. Austin Dillon is hanging on by 11 points after a difficult day at Gateway where he actually spun out his own brother Ty during the race, but all eyes will be on Van Gisbergen. The 3-time Supercars champion came to NASCAR with high expectations, and making the playoffs in his first full season was already an achievement. Getting eliminated in the first round would sting, but it wouldn't erase the progress he's made adapting to a completely different style of racing. Hamlin's retirement timeline adds another layer to this story. While Van Gisbergen is just getting started in NASCAR, one of the sport's biggest stars is counting down his final races. Hamlin wants to go out on top, and with 70 races left, every opportunity to win becomes more precious.
What do you think?
Oh man, he's the real deal. At first I wasn't sure, but the guy's earning respect. He's bringing the fun back.
62 to go when they come to the line.
Oh, look at, oh no!
Oh, he spun the tires and then spinning.
Cletus McFarland was never supposed to be a NASCAR driver. Known for his insane car stunts and burnouts on YouTube, he seemed like just another internet star playing around with fast cars. But now, he's racing with the pros and the NASCAR world is divided. Some are cheering him on, while others think he doesn't belong. So, what do the real NASCAR drivers think about him? The answers might surprise you. Cletus McFarland's rise from a YouTube car enthusiast to a legitimate NASCAR racer is nothing short of extraordinary. For years, Cletus was the guy who burned rubber, hosted burnout contests, and created wild car stunts for his massive online following. No one could have predicted that this YouTube personality would one day find himself behind the wheel of a real race car in the NASCAR scene. But when Cletus made his ARCA debut at Daytona with Reddy Jones Racing, it was clear this wasn't just a stunt, it was the start of a serious racing career. Yes, his first race ended in a crash, but instead of giving up or making excuses, Cletus took it as a learning opportunity. He didn't just walk away. He became obsessed with improving. Cletus started studying race tapes, watching lap after lap of footage, and seeking advice from veteran drivers who had been racing for decades. This was no longer about stunts or social media fame. It was about becoming a skilled driver. Despite his commitment to getting better, not everyone was impressed. NASCAR veteran Kenny Wallace didn't hold back. He criticized Cletus for using an unauthorized in-car camera setup and wearing safety gear that didn't meet NASCAR's standards. Wallace, a respected voice in the sport, was blunt. You don't just show up and freestyle your way through. There are lives on the line. His criticism was clear. It wasn't about fame. It was about the rules and safety of the sport. Rather than reacting defensively, Cletus did something surprising. He apologized.
So I felt like an idiot, and I apologized to who I hit there. That sucked, but we ended up, P9?
This moment of humility showed the racing world that Cletus wasn't just there for the attention, he was serious about learning and earning his place on the track. It didn't take long for other NASCAR legends to notice Cletus's drive to improve. One major turning point came when NASCAR great Greg Biffle, a driver with 19 Cup Series wins, offered to help. Here's what Jeff Gregg said post-race about Cletus McFarland's ARCA debut.
He did all the work, warmed the tires up on the back. I told him to, and he, felt like he had his grip down, but the back different than the front.
Biffle took Cletus under his wing, giving him tips on everything from driving techniques to communication with the pit crew. This kind of mentorship from someone with Biffle's experience was a game changer for Cletus, giving him the confidence to keep going. Then came Kevin Harvick, a 3-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. Harvick invited Cletus onto his podcast for a no-nonsense conversation. Harvick explained that NASCAR was no easy sport to master. It took years of experience, hard work, and dedication. But Harvick also saw the effort Cletus was putting in and acknowledged his determination. This kind of support from 2 seasoned veterans proved that Cletus wasn't just a flash in the pan, he was becoming a legitimate driver in the sport.